Now, since President Bola Tinubu appointed the new service chiefs, one question many Nigerians are asking is how will the team work with him to make the country more secure? Some have also been probing the geopolitical and ethnic representation of the service chiefs. Our ICE correspondent Tolu Ojewumi takes a cursory look at the new appointments as presented from our studio.
Bola, Tinubu.
Since the inauguration of the Bola Tinubu administration, citizens' interest have peaked to know how President Tinubu would stem the tide and how he would select his service chiefs. When he made the announcements, interest veered towards the federal character principle and his promise to not marginalize any zone of the nation. Malam Nuhu Ribadu is the new National Security Advisor. He hails from Adamawa State, northeast Nigeria. Being a policeman and a pioneer chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, it might be of public interest how he will bring his experience to bear in his new assignments, considering that most occupants of the office since the return to democracy in 1999 have often been ex-military generals. Major General Christopher Musa is the Chief of Defense Staff. He hails from Kaduna State in northwest Nigeria. He is a senior research fellow of the Nigerian Army Research Center and served as Theater Commander, Joint Task Force, Northeast Nigeria, Operation Hadinkai, and Commander Infantry Corps. Major General Tahid Lagbaja is the new Chief of Army Staff. He's from Osun State, Southwest Nigeria. He was General Officer Commanding Headquarters 1 Division. Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ogala is now the Chief of Naval Staff. He's from Enugu State, Southeast Nigeria. He was the Director Lessons Learned, Navy Headquarters. Critics say his appointment could assuage the agitation of the Southeast for an inclusive government. Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar is the new Chief of Air Staff. He's from Kano State, northwest of Nigeria. Till this appointment, he was the Chief of Standards and Evaluations, Headquarters Nigeria Air Force, Abuja. Deputy Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun has now been made Acting Inspector General of Police. Egbetokun is from Ogun State, Southwest Nigeria. Till his current appointment, he was DIG Force Criminal Investigations Department, Force Headquarters, Abuja. This move, no doubt, is a significant transition in the nation's security apparatus. With the wealth of experience these men are bringing on board, citizens will be on the lookout not only to see a visible change in the security of the nation, but also to heave a sigh of relief from the agitation of the minority for an egalitarian society and an inclusive government.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined from Lagos by the retired Admiral Francis Akpan, a security expert and military trainer. Good to see you, Admiral Akpan. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's quickly start by talking about, first, when this news broke, how did you feel knowing full well that, well, you've always been a concerned person in terms of the security challenges Nigeria is going through?
Thank you, Suleiman, for having me. Firstly, and welcome your crew to my home. I must say that at the end of every tenure, this democratic tenure, the President and Commander-in-Chief exercises his prerogative, as stated by the Constitution, to appoint service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police. So I think he acted rightly, and first based on his contacts, his research into the pedigree of the officers chosen, and I believe and I hope that they will be able to do very well in the discharge of their duties.
Now let's speak about the crop of officers to steer the affairs of our nation's security, and how optimistic you think that they can also drive such kind of enthusiasm down the ladder.
In defense management, at every stage in an officer's career, you go through both staff and operational training. Before you attain the rank of a 2-star in the military, Suleiman, you must have had your captain commander's course, you must have had a junior division, you must have had operational training. This time around, they are meant between the rank of major and colonel, you go to the war colleges, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force, preparing you for operational dispositions and operational deployment. At the rank of captain or colonel or group captain, you now attend the Defense College or NIPS, where you are prepared for policy making processes in the military. I think with the reforms that the military has gone through since 1999, this group of officers are properly equipped, well-trained, well-groomed by the military itself to take such high-ranking offices as service chiefs. And I hope that with all the content of their training and the wherewithal at the disposition, I hope that we will do very well.
Quite young officers, and if you go through their resume, you see some of them were actually born in 1970. And how does this make a younger officer feel? Especially now we're talking about a new set of generation of officers and men, the Gen Zs, the Gen X, all leading to ensuring that Nigeria is safe. Tell us your perspective to this.
The Gen Ys and the Gen Zs are better equipped than we were. I joined in 1974 as a member of 16th regular course. These officers, I think they are between 37 and 38. I've had the privilege of interacting with some of them, their colleagues, not directly they in particular. And I think they are prepared for higher command appointments, really, really prepared. And you need to see the context of the curriculum they go through, especially as I have been involved in preparing some of them in the war colleges and defense college. The curriculum are quite wide and extensive. They are prepared for both national and international assignments. And I can assure you they are well equipped.
Well, as Nigerians share in your optimism, speak to us on some of the key things you would, if given the chance, to see that the military does in the immediate future. For instance, military-civil relations, which has been harnessed in the last few years. How much more do you think the country can do to actually up the ante?
Civil-military relationship have been taken to a very high level in which there are departments in all the services. Be that as it may, there are dockets and training part curriculum that equips the military and, of course, the guys that are exposed to operations on how to win the hearts and the minds of the civil populace. Civil-military relations have been taken to a higher level than that in terms of corporate social responsibility of the services to their areas of operation. And in that context, they have done very well. They have interacted with those they meet in the course of their duty. And they're looking at it from the wider dimension of making it, giving them appointments as head or chiefs of civil-military relations. In that vein, there are also documentations in the services at how to up the ante in civil-military relationship. But remember that in the context of military aid to civil power, the context is quite open, and in that wise, there are documents to guide you when you engage civil populace in especially peacekeeping or internal security engagements. So yes, civil-military relations the ante has been raised, and we can only expect that it will improve with the new chiefs.
You know, speaking of which, talking about improvement, I spoke earlier with Lawrence Alubi, a former retired commissioner of police, and some of the key concerns Nigerians have always raised is if the military, at the end of the day, have been able to push back and win back some of these troubled spots, we should be seeing the presence of policemen to actually stay in such area. Now, I'm asking the question about the military that some have said is overstretched. Do you think the Nigerian military, as it is today, is overstretched in its fight against what we have seen in the years?
The context of military operations is, of course, in the defense policy Within that, the context of the policy, the rationale of deployment is also proper. What internal engagement be involving, external engagements, and what have you. But having said that, I think that the presence of the military in about 32 or 33 states in the Federation is asking for too much. They have engagement in the Northeast, they have engagements engaging bandits, and all kinds of internal security issues. Yes, the military should be called out when the police say they cannot cope with the situation. What that has meant in the last, I think in the last 20 years, is that I think we need to reform the Nigerian police, if you ask me. Because we need to get back our guys to do military jobs than staying on roadblocks and checkpoints, exposing them to the caricatures of what have you. I want the police reformed so that the naval chaps, the airmen, and the soldiers can get to do what they're supposed to do. Maintenance, protection of our sovereignty, protection of our territorial integrity, protecting Nigeria from anyone that attempts to take any part of our sovereignty. I believe that we should reform the police in its totality. Let me tell you, Suleiman, I was privileged to be defense advisor to South Africa, and I had concurrent accreditation to Botswana. I had a relationship with President Kama, who was a graduate of the Police College Ikeja. But at that time, he wanted to visit Nigeria, and I was afraid of including in his itinerary the police college because it's in a very bad shape. So we need to reform the police in terms of recruitment. Like the CP said, he said it all, but we need to go further than that. There must be operational concept of reform, from recruitment to training. Our police colleges must be world standards, must be world standards. And the giving and the buy-in in reforms it must be all endowing, all and sundry must be part of it. The academia, the media, the retired police officers themselves, with input from the serving officers. And then we can come up with a holistic reform document from the police so that we can take out some of this mentality of the past, having been police of oppression in the colonial era, to a police that will serve people in a democratic era, reform them, and get the soldiers back to the barracks to do their military jobs, and then they to be the first call when we have issues of safety and security in the country. We need to reform them. From their uniforms, from their countrymen, to their barracks, to especially the training facilities, because training is all. Training enhances professionalism. We must get it right. Police colleges, their accommodation must be right. If you go around the country and see police barracks, I think it's a real shadow of what we expect. And the populace and the civil populace in particular must buy in. So they must be part of the reforms. It must be an all-comers thing. It must be a national endeavor to see that we have a police that we'll be proud of. The time to do that is now.
Let me close on this. I wouldn't let you go without coming to your inner chamber, talking about the Navy. You are a naval pilot. Speak to us, when you look back and you look at progress so far within the Navy, what more can you say to Nigerians to expect from the Navy in its fight against what we're dealing with?
Well, I think the Navy had improved in all its ramifications in the last 4 years, culminating with, of course, the grand presidential review. It couldn't have been better. Platforms. I went to deliver a paper today at NAVTRAC. I was privileged to look around Beecroft and, of course, NNS Kura. I was impressed. Hospitals, Medicare for the personnel, structures springing up here and there. I've been privileged to go around, Suleiman, and also other services. I'm quite impressed with the Navy in terms of its turnout, in terms of its perception. We just had been put into policy the national security strategy for Nigeria, national maritime security strategy for Nigeria. It's all encompassing. A shift from what it had in the past, the maritime security policy. Now we are hoping to have the national security strategy, which will have a place for all stakeholders, reducing the conflict and the competition between maritime stakeholders and the Navy. And of course, looking at all these other aspects that have been a lacuna in the past. For the Navy, it can only get better. new platforms. We have OPVs. We have the Maritime Domain Awareness platform, the Falcon Eye, that covers up to 200 nautical miles. And in the comfort of their office and with those excellent platforms at sea, the response factor has improved. That is why Nigeria has been exited from the areas in the world where piracy had thrived. Today, it's zero tolerance on piracy. On the backwaters, it's doing our best. I think from my last 1 or 2 trips out of station into those areas, you could count more than 100 platforms doing very good jobs in protecting our backwaters. I think the Navy, the sky is just the beginning, and I wish the new chief very well.
For us to say many thanks for being such nice company, retired Admiral Francis Akpan. We do hope when you come to the city, talking about Abuja, you should be live here with us in the studios. Thank you for your time.